Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is Dean Cottrill. I am an EVP and partner with T360, overseeing the brokerage and team consulting division. I've got my sidekick, Lisa Picardo. When I say sidekick, that's with all respect, Lisa. Great to see you, Lisa. How
Good
are
to
you?
see you, Dean. I'm excited about today.
I
It's
am too. I
one of
am
our
too. We
favorite
have,
clients.
yeah, we
Wow.
have Andy Taylor. Yeah, one of our favorite at the top of the list. Andy is just a dynamic guy running Mosaic Real Estate. We're just he's moved into the Fellows program, which is our MBA style program. We'll talk about that briefly at the end. But one of the things we asked, and one of the things we want to do with these calls, Andy, and to those who are watching this, is really give some insight, something that would be helpful to you in running your business, whether you're running a brokerage or running a team. These calls are focused on, and that's what Lisa and I do. We work with leaders within the real estate space who are running organizations to help them run more efficient, more profitable operations and organizations. So with that, Andy, welcome. Good to see you.
Thrilled to be here. Couldn't be a bigger fan of you guys.
Well, we're a big fan of you. And so let's just start and have a nice conversation, because one of the things that we've done with you over the last, you and your leadership team, Andy, is work with you through our fellows program. And like I just briefly mentioned earlier, that's that MBA program where we go through certain key areas of running a brokerage. We start, for those listeners that don't know what I'm talking about, we start with some foundational work, three specific areas there. Then we move into four areas of growth, which include two modules on recruiting, and then we move into scale and scaling the business. So as we've worked with Andy, one of the things that stood out in reaching out to you, Andy, ahead of time, you said one of the things that's been really impactful for you and your team has been the competitive assessment module. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so when I hired you guys, I was all ready for like my brain to be melted. I was looking for like some top level stuff. And the very first assignment you have me do, I'm like, this is the most redundant. Why am I doing this, Dean? Why? Why? I was expecting fireworks, Tony Robbins type flames to come out of your ears, and you have me do this competitive assessment. And I was a little begrudging. I was a little, like, this is okay. I'm just going to submit to the process. But I got to tell you, it was like one of those John Wooden moments. Like John Wooden used to start off every practice at the first of the year, or maybe this was just made up and told to me, but it works. Like the first practice, you take all these top athletes, sit them down in the locker room, and say, "This is how you put on a sock." He'd make these kids have been playing basketball their entire life, like take off a sock and you line the seam up against your front toes, you roll it on. This way it prevents blisters. If we can prevent blisters, we can run more. We can run more, we can play defense, and on it goes. And that was like that moment I had with this competitive assessment. You
Yeah,
had
so
me.
let me so one of the things we ask you to do is talk about your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then those of your competitors, right? So I'd love to hear sort of what you uncovered in that.
Yeah, you don't know yourself, like, to thy own self be true. And I had no idea who I was. Like, it doesn't so much matter who I think I am, it matters who other people think I am. And the same thing with my brokerage. I thought I had a certain value prop, but when I broke it down and saw, like, from the eyes of others, like what I actually offered, it was a little bit different than what I thought I brought to the table. Even more so, I thought I knew what my competition was offering, but I didn't. I knew some bullet points. I knew some things that I was afraid of about another brokerage. I knew some things that I knew I was dominant of another brokerage, but I didn't really see how they all fit together. And that's what that competitive assessment helped me walk through.
Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting, one of the things you said, which just resonated with me, was some leaders, they assume they know certain things. And, but in that doubt of that cloudiness of not really truly knowing and making that assumption, there is a sense of fear. I don't know, so I'm hesitant to run down a road fast because I clearly understand where I'm going. I clearly see who my competitors are and what their offers are and how I stack up against them. And that level of clarity, doesn't it help you run faster?
I'll tell you, and this is just like a salient example. This is how my investment in your company has already paid off dividends. Is I always felt like my the cap, like what I charged agents, was a little high. I thought I was kind of like, I don't know, am I offering too much, or am I asking too much? Should I actually reduce my cap? In doing the competitive assessment, I saw two things. One, my cap is higher than everybody else's, and two, it wasn't high enough based on the value we're doing. So I actually raised my cap. See, before I was like, I got to be right in the middle of my competition. But then when I evaluated what they're doing, and not just from what other agents said, because everyone's like, well, my brokerage, they give me tea doilies and flower. It's like everyone's just giving you something. And you're like, all of a sudden, I need to do that. Or I literally had one agent say, do you guys have an attorney on retainer? Because my brokerage does. And then I spent like a week trying to figure out what that meant. Like, no, you do a competitive assessment so you can see what your competition's doing, not so you can mirror it, so that you can then look at what you're doing. How does it stack up? Like, do I believe in it? Is this part of the Jim Collins good to great? Like, should I be getting out of the business or should I be doubling down? And I saw actually I should charge more because what I'm offering is so much more substantial. And we've grown even since we've raised our cap by 40 agents.
Yeah, it's huge. And for those that are listening, because one of the things we haven't done is really given a sense of your size and scale. So Andy, if you could just give them a sense of your current organization, maybe give like the last, 12, 24 months, because you've had a tremendous growth.
Sure. And I love this part because literally, I will say I forgot that I was doing this. I probably would have put it on a button down, but this is a $6 Costco t-shirt. And yes, this is the face of Mosaic Real Estate. And we started 3 years ago with 18 agents. And then today we're 180 agents in 3 offices. And we are by no means a discount brokerage. Our cap is 25 grand on a 70-30 split. And this is true story. In my lobby right now, there was a small boutique brokerage of 6 agents. Their entire brokerage is joining our office today. And it's not because I wear a suit and tie, and it's because we offer true value to actually help the agents grow. There's no smoke and mirrors or lip service, or you're definitely not following some guy who's posting Instagram pictures of sockless pics of him and his Mercedes. That doesn't sell. Knowing who you are compared to your competition and then living in that lane is why we've grown like we have.
Yeah, and I think you just said it right there, right? Like you want to be authentic about who you are as a brokerage and your value prop. And you're not going to be all things to all people. It's either you want what you offer or you don't, right? And that's what really the competitive assessment unveils. I also love that you said that you made some changes, right? So a big part of it is to make changes that not to match your competitor, but make the right changes. And we have had people add fees, do different things because of the results of the competitive assessment.
I think you got to look at how much gas you have in the tank, right? Like if you've realized that you've missed the boat and you should have sold your brokerage 3 or 4 years ago, and you just, you've moved on mentally, then all you have left to do is keep up with the Joneses. All the more reason why you should do a competitive analysis so you truly know what the Joneses are doing, so you know what to keep up with. That's not bad. That's your business. But if you believe like, no, there's still some gas in the tank, I feel like I've been created to dominate. Well, just don't go be like, you remember Family Circus, like the cartoon Family Circus, it'd always be like, Mom, she'd say, Billy, go get like, the milk from the front porch. And he would go talk to the dog and go play in the backyard. Do you remember like that little dot line trail of like, he'd go everywhere and do everything and then come back and say, oh, it was too much work. And I feel like that's brokerage owners. That's what we're doing. We're just chasing our tail. We're no different than the agents we're trying to lead. So you just got to stop, drop, and roll. You got to hire T360, baby. You just got to submit to Dean and Lisa. Do things like the competitive analysis, which you're going to be like, Dean, this is the last thing I want to do. But breaking it down, like not being accountable to them, but knowing what you're capable of, and then being accountable to that through the lens of a format like T360. And I got to say, I know I'm going to dominate, but because now I know the raw data and how I stack up against my competition, I can empirically prove it's going to work.
Yeah.
Last example.
Go ahead.
But I know. You just give me the sign, Lisa. Give me the wink when I'm over talking. It's like as an agent, they tell you to farm, but you would never farm a neighborhood or a demographic that's not being moved, right? Like the people who don't move in 15 years, you don't want to waste them. You want to go after where there's turnover, that new construction development that was built 3 years ago, like that, you know where to go after. Well, you use raw data to come up with that. If you are trying to grow your brokerage and you're not actually using what the raw data says about your competition and yourself, you don't even know who to farm or where. When an agent sits down across from you, you're just really trying to be in a likability contest. I hope they like me more than the other brokerage, because you have no idea what you're recruiting against or who you're recruiting to. And that is the gift you gave me.
That's awesome.
Well, and also, the separation, because the 6 people, you had mentioned this before we went on video, but the 6 people that are waiting to sign on that are outside in your lobby, they actually are coming from a much lower cap, a much higher split organization, right? So that's something as well, that your level of confidence, and it just admits, it comes right through the video, you can feel it. But that level of confidence, and that's what one of the benefits of doing competitive assessment for leaders is, there's that sense of fear, as I mentioned earlier, that will dissipate in a level of confidence that comes in and says, you know what, I've got something of strength, and I have a lot to offer here, and I want to I'm standing up, my chest is out, I'm walking in a room with my head high. I got something great to offer, and that people feel it and sense it. I mean, you can sense it from you, Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love, and what do they say? In the absence of value, it's all about price, right? And I just think enough owners and leaders really don't believe in their value or understand their value. They're like, oh, well, so, this other company has this and we don't. It's like, but look at everything that you have, right? You're absolutely right. It's all about that confidence and that belief. And, you want to be people want to be part of your culture. Let's talk a few minutes just about your retention. You have such a strong retention. I mean, I love the pictures I've seen of your company. What do you do to keep people there once you get them over?
Well, that's like a whole nother conversation. So I'll just say
1 minute.
1 minute. People want to follow real people. Now, if I was just wearing my bangles and my jewelry and grew my hair long because I want to be someone's guru, that's baloney, and you'll smell it a mile away, right? People don't want to be like me. They want to know I'm genuine because they want to be genuine. So we got the suits, we got the ties, we do have the board short agents, but people just want to know that you're the genuine article. And then you got to celebrate them and collaborate with them and bring them together. And if you're genuine and you like to throw a party, people want to be a part of that. Now, if you can also help them sell, then they'll stay.
Right.
Yep. You got to push yourself. One of the things in my personal life, some of the biggest challenges I went through in my personal life helped me dramatically in my professional life, because I became a stronger person. I became someone who was more true to myself in understanding who I am. So one of the things that this program does, it really pushes you out of a comfort zone. You take that protective, coat of whatever armor that you've put on yourself to say, I need this protection. Get rid of it. The best thing, because people can sense that you're fearful. If you get rid of it, let it fall to the side and say, you know what, I'm susceptible. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. But goodness gracious, I'm going to do the best I can in this space, support you and your business, whatever that value prop is. That's what resonates, to your point, Andy. That's what's so powerful about you personally and your business. And frankly, and other leaders can do the same.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So in wrapping up, you heard a bit about our T3 Fellows program, which is 10 different modules. Competitive assessment is actually the second module. The first module is an annual business review, where that's really a deep dive into all of your numbers and your total business, everything, your systems, your marketing, your lead gen, your organizational structure. We also do that a la carte as a one-off. So if you're interested in that, we'd love to talk with you about it. And we have another program as well in response to all the compensation lawsuits. It's called a buyer brokerage assessment program, where we're helping brokerage owners and team leaders get in a good place, make buyer brokerage a priority and get their agents trained. We do an audit of everything that you're doing in that space. We look at your buyer broker agreements, your compensation in that space, your marketing and everything. So that's another offering that we can provide. So reach out if we can be of assistance.